Good morning, this is Mr. Morales, and I will be explaining how to write equations of lines given a point and slope. In other words, we're going to learn what's called the point-slope formula. So first of all, the formula is represented by a couple of different parts. Let's go ahead and become acquainted with the formula. And the formula is as follows. It is y minus y1 equals slope times x minus x1. Now, a couple of these we are familiar with already. Let's go ahead and turn that thickness down. Now, what you need in order to write point-slope formula are the two things in the title. First of all, you need a given slope, which is your letter M right here. And then you need a single point. Every point has an x value and a y value. Together, these make the point in point-slope formula. Once you have those two bits of information, you can then go ahead and write any equation of a line that goes through a given point with a given slope. So for example, we are asked to write the equation of a line that goes through the point 4, 1 and has a slope of positive 2. So first step is to always write your formula. So our new formula is y minus y1 equals slope times x minus x1. Now we need three bits of information. We need our slope, which is m, that's right here. We need an x1 value and a y1 value from a given point, and they give us that there already. So the second step now is to substitute in the values. The first y stays y by itself, minus your y value from the point above, 1, equals your slope, 2, parentheses, this x in the parentheses stays plain old x, minus x1 from your point, 4. Now we go ahead and do distributive property. I'll leave the stuff on the left side alone, and I'll distribute. 2 times x is 2x, and 2 times negative 4 is negative 8. Now my final step is to isolate y all by itself. Y is being subtracted by 1, so I'll add 1 to both sides. And then I get y falls down, these 1's cancel out, the equal sign falls down, the 2x falls down, negative 8 plus 1 is negative 7, and here's my equation. This line will go through the point 4, 1 and have a slope of 2. You can go ahead and graph it on your calculator to check, to verify. Now I'm going to go straight down the left-hand side of these notes. The right-hand side will be yours to do for your grade for the day. So question number 3, same exact thing again. Step 1 is to write the formula. Y minus y1 equals your slope times x minus x1. You have an x1 value, a y1 value, and your slope m. Substitute in all those values into your formula. Y minus 0, because that's my y1, equals 2/3 times x minus negative 6. Quick reminder, whenever you have minus and a negative, you really have plus plus. So before I distribute anything, I'll go ahead and change those signs. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'll leave my left-hand side alone, y minus 0, and I'm going to distribute the parentheses. 2/3 times x is 2/3 x. 2/3 times positive 6 is 6/12 divided by 3 is, 4? There we go. And then my last step is to get y, or isolate y by itself. Y minus 0 is just y, so y is essentially by itself. So my equation is y equals 2/3 x plus 4. There's your equation. And the last one on this side, same thing again. First step, write the formula. Y minus y1 equals slope times x minus x1. This is a y, just by the way, make it more y. There we go. x1, y1, slope. Substitute in all our values. Y minus negative 3 equals our slope times x minus x1, which is 4. Once again, I see that minus and negative over here, so that becomes plus plus. I'll go ahead and leave the left side alone for now. Negative 1 times x is negative 1x, or negative x. Negative 1 times a negative 4 is a positive 4. I'm going to go ahead and subtract 3 from both sides to get the y all by itself. Y, these 3 cancel out, y falls down, the negative 1x falls down, positive 4 minus 3 is a positive 1, and there is my equation. The questions or the examples on the right-hand side will be yours to show me for credit on these notes. To the back now. So you can also do the same exact process if you're not given a slope, but if you're only given 2 points. So you have to quickly remember that we've already been given the slope formula. To find the slope when you're given 2 points, it's y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And this has all the parts. If you multiply both sides of the slope formula by the denominator, you get the point slope form essentially. But that's if you discover later on. Just know that they're both related to each other. Once you have the slope formula, you can then write the point slope formula, period. And that's what we're going to practice on this side. So once again, I'm going to work on the left-hand side. This one's going to have an extra step because we have to find the slope. So remember, I have an x1 and a y1, an x2 and a y2. So I need to find the slope of those points. So to find the slope, slope equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. You start off by writing the formula. Then I will substitute in all the values. I have negative 1 minus 7 over 1 minus negative 3. Using your calculator, you can simplify and do this math quite quickly. You get negative 8 over 4, which gives us a slope of negative 2. So our slope is negative 2. Once I have that, I can go back to what I did on the previous side and write my equation in point slope form. My formula for point slope is y minus y1, good save there, equals slope times x minus x1. I know I can pick, now I have 2 sets of points. I can either use the first set or second set. I will go ahead and just use the x1 and y1 because that's the same notation I have down here. So the first y stays, my y1 is a 7, my slope I found up here is a negative 2, my x stays, my x1 is the negative 3 that I had up here. Remembering from before, when I have minus and a negative, I end up with plus and positive. Now I'll go ahead and do distribution. I'll keep the y minus 7 over here on the left. Negative 2 times x is negative 2x. Negative 2 times positive 3 is a negative 6. I will now isolate my y by adding 7 to both sides of my equation. And I end up with y equals negative 2x. Negative 6 plus 7 is positive 1. So there's my equation there. For number 3, same exact process again. I have an x1 and a y1, x2 and y2. I'll use these to find my slope. Slope formula is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 equals sign. So substitute everything in. I get negative 6 minus negative 1 over 4 minus 2. I simplify all that out. I will get negative 5 over 2, which cannot be simplified. So my slope is negative 5 halves. Now I can go ahead and apply my point slope formula. Point slope formula is y minus y1 equals slope times x minus x1. I will pick the first set of points again from my x1 and y1 because they're already named that. So y minus my y1, which is a negative 1, times my slope, which is negative 5 halves, times x minus my x1, which is a positive 2. Once again, I recognize I have minus and a negative, which becomes plus positive. I'll go ahead and leave that as y plus 1 on the left. Distribution time. Negative 5 halves times x is negative 5 halves x. Negative 5 halves times a negative 2, if you use your calculator, this gives you a positive 5. I'm going to go ahead and add 1 to both sides. And I get the equation, I'll move it over here, of y equals negative 5 halves x plus 4. It's supposed to be a minus 5 over here. Let's see. I feel like I have a bit of an error here. Oops, this was to be subtracting. This was plus 1. That's supposed to be minus 1, minus 1. There we go. There's the 4. There we go. Quick little fix. No big deal. And our final example, same type of thing again. So I have, to get my slope, x1, y1, x2, y2. The slope formula is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Substituting in my values, I have negative 5 minus 1 on top with 0 minus negative 8 on the bottom. I'll plug everything into my calculator, and I end up with negative 3/4 after all is said and done. So my slope is negative 3/4. That's my m. I can now plug everything in to the equation for point slope. Y minus y1 equals my slope times x minus x1. I'll use the same first set of values I have up here. So y minus 1 equals my negative 3/4 slope times x minus negative 8 in parentheses. I recall again, minus the negative becomes positive. So I have y minus 1 equals distribution time. Negative 3/4 times x is negative 3/4 x. Negative 3/4 times a positive 8 gives me a negative 6. I'm going to add 1 to both sides. And I end up with my final answer of y equals negative 3/4 x. Negative 6 plus 1 is a negative 5. The examples on the right-hand side will be yours to do, and your assignment is going to be pages 95 and 96. If you have any questions, feel free to use these examples as a starting point and bring them to your teacher in the morning. Best of luck.